On May 11th, 2025, deep inside a quiet Swiss villa near the banks of Lake Geneva, the world's two largest economies, the United States and China, announced a surprise breakthrough. A new trade deal aimed at ending one of the most intense economic standoffs in modern history. But what really happened behind closed doors? What's in the deal? And what's being left out? To understand why this deal matters, we need to rewind. In April 2025, former President Donald Trump, now re-elected, dropped a bombshell. A 145% tariff on most Chinese imports, citing a $295 billion trade deficit and national security threats. That decision nearly froze $600 billion in annual trade. China struck back, fast, with 125% tariffs on U.S. goods, grinding global trade to a near halt. Financial markets nosedived. Global supply chains broke. American consumers faced inflation. Chinese factories shut down. Analysts feared a new global recession. Both economies paid a heavy price. But with the stakes so high, how did we end up with an agreement just weeks later? Geneva, Switzerland, a city known for diplomacy and neutrality. But this wasn't just a scenic backdrop, it was a strategic move. The talks took place at the private residence of Switzerland's UN ambassador in Cologne, out of public view, away from the media. Swiss leaders, including President Korin Keller-Sutter, played key behind-the-scenes roles. The WTO, headquartered nearby, wasn't involved, but its symbolic presence reminded both sides just how fragile global trade governance had become. The talks were reportedly initiated by the U.S., not China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent led the American effort, signaling Washington's shift from confrontation to containment. Trump, facing inflation backlash at home, quietly softened his stance, first with the UK, then China. Meanwhile, Beijing, watching its factories bleed jobs, quietly began to lift tariffs on $40 billion worth of U.S. goods. Both sides realized continuing the trade war wasn't a show of strength anymore. It was mutual economic destruction. The announcement on May 11th was short on specifics but packed with implications. Here's what we know so far. Key U.S. objectives: reduce the $295 billion trade deficit, counter China's grip on critical minerals like gallium and rare earths, open up Chinese markets to U.S. companies, but many of these are goals, not guarantees. China's goals: end the crippling 145% tariffs, regain access to the U.S. consumer market, avoid isolation as the U.S. cuts trade deals with UK, Vietnam, and India, creation of a bilateral task force for ongoing talks, expected reduction of tariffs, possibly to 80% or lower, claims of China reducing subsidies, accepting 45% tariffs, unverified. Both sides describe the deal as an important first step. No one is calling it a final agreement, but it's enough to stop the bleeding. Let's break down the players who shaped this moment. U.S. delegation, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary. Led talks Jamieson, Greer, U.S. Trade Representative. Praised speed and cooperation, Donald Trump. Briefed regularly, called it a total reset on Truth Social, China's delegation. Hai Lifeng, Vice Premier. Top-level negotiator with Xi's trust unnamed vice ministers. Present but low profile critically, China kept President Xi out of the spotlight, avoiding any political fallout if talks failed. The Geneva deal's announcement instantly moved markets. U.S. and Asian equity futures jumped. Businesses celebrated, cautiously. In the U.S., prices of Chinese imports, from electronics to textiles, may drop. But because many goods were already in port, relief won't be instant. Meanwhile, Chinese factories may rehire workers and stabilize production. The big unknown. Will this deal usher in lasting trade peace or just buy time? For Trump, this is a major political win. A pressure release valve on inflation and a campaign boost heading into midterms. For China, it's a lifeline. A chance to avoid being squeezed out by rising powers like India or Vietnam. But here's the bottom line. This deal may be more political theater than trade transformation. There's no signed document yet, no confirmed tariff cuts, no timeline. And China has been silent. No press release, no public endorsement. Just like the 2020 Phase 1 deal, which failed to fully materialize, this agreement risks being more about headlines than substance. Still, a thaw in the world's most dangerous economic rivalry is a step forward. And in 2025, even talking is a sign of progress. What do you think? Is this the beginning of real cooperation, or just another round of trade theater? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dive global analysis.